The Stardust Encounter. The northern lights danced across the Alaskan sky as Rowan Winters adjusted her camera settings, hoping to capture the perfect shot of the aurora. After 15 years of wildlife photography, she thought she'd seen every spectacle nature could offer. She was wrong. A streak of violet light cut through the aurora, different from anything she'd witnessed before. Through her telephoto lens, she tracked the object as it descended toward the snow-covered peaks of the Denali Range. The light pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat, before disappearing behind a ridge. Rowan debated calling it in. Strange lights weren't unusual in Alaska, but something about this felt different. Her gut instinct, the same one that had helped her track elusive snow leopards and Arctic foxes, told her to investigate. Shouldering her camera gear and checking her emergency supplies, she began the careful trek across the frozen landscape. The crash site glowed with an ethereal blue light. What Rowan found wasn't a meteor or satellite, but a sleek vessel partially buried in the snow. Its surface rippled like liquid mercury, covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move in the starlight. But what caught her attention were the figures huddled near the ship's damaged hull. 3 beings unlike anything on Earth stood in the snow. Their bodies were translucent, with swirling nebulae visible within their forms, as if someone had captured pieces of the cosmos and given them shape. The tallest one was clearly injured, leaning against the ship while cradling what appeared to be a child-sized figure. A third being, seemingly adolescent, stood guard. "Hello?" Rowan called out softly, raising her empty hands. "I'm not here to hurt you." The beings turned, and Rowan gasped. Their eyes were like miniature galaxies, swirling with stars and cosmic dust. The adolescent one stepped forward, raising a hand that emanated soft purple light. A gentle voice echoed directly in Rowan's mind. "Our ship was damaged avoiding the Nexus hunters," the voice explained. "Guardian Lyra is injured, and young Nova needs shelter. Will you help us?" Rowan noticed the injured one, Guardian Lyra, had a spreading darkness in their cosmic form, like a black hole consuming stars. The child, Nova, trembled with pulses of frightened starlight. The adolescent introduced themselves as Orion. "I have a cabin about 2 miles from here," Rowan offered. "It's isolated, with medical supplies. We can figure out what to do next once you're safe." The decision to help came naturally to Rowan. Throughout her career, she'd witnessed countless examples of animals helping others across species boundaries. Perhaps humanity's first contact with alien life shouldn't be any different. Getting them to the cabin proved challenging. Lyra could barely walk, their form flickering like a dying star. Orion created some kind of energy field around them, masking their ethereal glow from any watching eyes. Nova, despite their fear, seemed fascinated by the snow, leaving behind footprints that sparkled with stardust. Inside the cabin, Rowan quickly covered the windows and started a fire. The aliens seemed to draw strength from the warmth, their forms becoming more solid. As she helped Lyra onto her spare cot, Orion explained their story. They were celestials, beings born from the energy of dying stars, who had developed the ability to take physical form. Their civilization spanned multiple galaxies, dedicated to preserving cosmic harmony. But another faction, the Nexus, believed in harvesting young stars for power, regardless of the developing life around them. Earth sits at a crucial junction of space-time, Orion explained while helping Nova create small constellations in their hands to stay calm. The Nexus wants to use your sun as a power source, regardless of the consequences to your planet. We came to warn humanity, to help prepare defenses. Rowan listened while cleaning Lyra's wound with supplies from her first aid kit. Though the aliens' biology was vastly different, they responded positively to the antiseptic herbs she used for wildlife injuries. "Why trust me?" she asked. "I'm just a photographer." Lyra's voice, though weak, resonated with wisdom. "Because you see the beauty in all things, Rowan Winters. Your images show life in its purest form, without judgment or fear. Such vision is rare in any species. As the northern lights continued their dance outside, Rowan realized her life's work had prepared her for this moment. Just as she captured the hidden wonders of Earth's creatures, she now had the chance to bridge the gap between worlds. But as Nova created tiny auroras between their fingers and Orion kept watch by the window, she also understood the weight of the responsibility she'd accepted. The night was just beginning, and somewhere out there, the Nexus hunters were searching. Humanity's first contact with alien life would not be announced in grand government buildings or scientific facilities, but in a small cabin under the Alaska stars, where a wildlife photographer made the choice to see beauty instead of fear. Sanctuary among the stars. Dawn painted the Alaskan sky in shades of lavender and gold as Rowan finished securing her cabin. 3 days had passed since she'd welcomed the Celestials into her home, and each moment had brought new wonders and challenges. She'd converted her dark room into a sanctuary for her alien guests, the chemical smells helping mask their unique energy signatures from any scanning devices. Lyra's condition had stabilized, their cosmic form slowly regenerating thanks to a combination of Earth's natural energy fields and Rowan's herbal remedies. The Guardian spent long hours teaching Rowan about their civilization, sharing knowledge that spanned millennia through telepathic exchanges that left her mind reeling with visions of distant galaxies and ancient star systems. Young Nova had overcome their initial fear, now following Rowan everywhere with celestial curiosity. The child's presence transformed ordinary objects into sources of wonder. When Rowan showed them her photography equipment, Nova created miniature constellations that matched the patterns in her wildlife photos, drawing unexpected connections between Earth's creatures and the cosmos. The bears you photograph, Nova communicated while studying a print of a grizzly mother with cubs, their spirits echo the stellar nurseries where new stars are born. Such fierce protection of life exists throughout the universe. Their observation made Rowan see her own work in a new light, understanding that the patterns of life she captured through her lens were universal constants. Orion spent their time establishing a complex network of energy fields around the property, weaving starlight into protective barriers that would alert them to any approaching threats. The teenage Celestial had also begun teaching Rowan about their technology, explaining how their ships navigated the quantum threads that connected all points in space. Your species stands at a crucial threshold, Orion explained while demonstrating how they manipulated cosmic energy. The Nexus sees this as a vulnerability, but we recognize it as an opportunity. Humanity's creativity, your ability to adapt and find beauty in the unknown, these are rare gifts in the universe. The peaceful routine they'd established was interrupted one evening by a series of unusual atmospheric disturbances. Orion's energy network detected multiple objects entering Earth's upper atmosphere, their signatures matching Nexus technology. They gathered in the cabin's main room, watching through Rowan's specialized camera equipment as strange lights appeared and disappeared in the cloud cover. They're establishing a search grid, Lyra observed, their form pulsing with concern. The Nexus hunters are methodical. They'll start with major population centers, but eventually, they'll expand their search to remote areas. Rowan's satellite phone buzzed with alerts from her wildlife photographer network. Reports of strange atmospheric phenomena and unusual aurora activities were flooding in from across the Arctic Circle. The Nexus presence was becoming harder to hide. Nova, sensing the growing tension, created a small replica of their home galaxy in the center of the room. I missed the celestial nurseries, they admitted, their form dimming with homesickness. The star songs that taught us to dance between worlds. Rowan found herself humming an old lullaby her grandmother had taught her, one about the northern lights being bridges between worlds. To her amazement, Nova's galaxy model began pulsing in rhythm with her song, while Orion and Lyra's forms resonated with harmonious patterns of light. Music exists in the space between stars, Lyra explained, their galaxy eyes twinkling. Your species understands this instinctively, though you may not realize it. The frequencies you call music often match the vibrations of cosmic events. This discovery led to an unexpected breakthrough. Orion realized they could use Earth's natural magnetic field, combined with harmonic frequencies, to enhance their distress signal to the celestial fleet without alerting the Nexus hunters. They began working with Rowan to modify her photography equipment, turning cameras and lenses into components of an improvised quantum communications array. As they worked, Rowan learned more about the conflict that had brought them to Earth. The Nexus had once been part of the celestial civilization, before their obsession with harvesting stellar energy led them down a darker path. They believed that younger species like humanity were merely obstacles to be removed in their quest for power. But they fail to understand the true source of cosmic energy, Lyra said while helping Nova practice controlling their light emissions. It's not just in the stars themselves, but in the connections between all living things. The very empathy that led you to help us, Rowan, is a force as powerful as any star. Their work was interrupted by a deep thrumming that shook the cabin's windows. Outside, the northern lights had taken on an unnatural pattern, forming geometric shapes that pulsed with aggressive energy. The Nexus hunters were getting closer. Rowan checked her supplies and emergency plans. Her years of tracking wildlife in extreme conditions had taught her how to stay hidden, how to read the landscape for escape routes and safe havens. Now those skills would be tested in ways she never imagined. As she watched Nova create tiny auroras to communicate with Orion, and Lyra meditate to strengthen their healing form, Rowan understood that her cabin had become more than just a sanctuary. It was a crucible where the future relationship between humanity and the cosmos would be forged, not through fear or dominance, but through trust, curiosity, and the simple choice to help those in need. Shadows of pursuit. The first snow of winter fell in strange patterns around Rowan's cabin, crystals twisting in unnatural geometries as they passed through the Nexus energy fields high above. A week had passed since the hunters' arrival in Earth's atmosphere, and their search patterns were growing more precise. Rowan's wildlife photography network had become an unexpected early warning system. Her colleagues across Alaska reported equipment malfunctions, unexplained lights, and wildlife behaving erratically. Animals seemed to sense the alien presence, with entire herds of caribou changing their migration routes and birds flying in bizarre formations. The creatures of your world are more sensitive to cosmic disturbances than most humans realize, Lyra observed while monitoring the energy fluctuations through Orion's defensive network. The Guardian had recovered enough to move freely, though their forms still flickered when they exerted themselves. Their makeshift quantum communications array, built from modified camera equipment and enhanced by Nova's ability to manipulate stellar frequencies, had managed to contact the celestial fleet. Help was coming, but the fleet's arrival would take time they might not have. The first direct threat came not from the sky, but from the ground. Rowan's satellite phone rang with a call from Thomas Blackwood, her old friend at the National Weather Service. "Rowan, we've got government types asking about your recent photos," he warned. "They're particularly interested in those aurora shots you posted last week. Something about anomalous energy signatures in the images." After ending the call, Rowan quickly began wiping her online presence, deleting photos that might reveal the Celestials' location. But as she worked, Orion detected multiple vehicles approaching along the access road to her property. "They're using Earth technology," Orion reported, their form pulsing with anxiety, "but I detect Nexus energy signatures mixed with the electronic emissions. They've already infiltrated your government agencies." Nova, who had been practicing creating microscopic star systems in the dark room, rushed to help Rowan pack essential supplies. The young Celestial had grown increasingly adept at manipulating Earth materials, their stellar energy combining with physical matter in fascinating ways. "Remember how you showed me to track animals through heavy snow?" Nova asked while helping compress sleeping bags into backpacks. "Maybe we can use similar techniques to hide our quantum trail." Rowan smiled at how the child had absorbed her wilderness lessons, applying them to cosmic problems. They had precious little time to evacuate. Through her high-powered spotting scope, she could see 3 black SUVs making their way up the snow-covered road, accompanied by what appeared to be standard government vehicles. Lyra joined them at the window, their galaxy eyes analyzing the approaching threat. "The Nexus are masters of infiltration," they explained. "They can create energy constructs that mimic other life forms, including humans. We cannot trust any official authority now." They escaped through a hidden trail Rowan used for tracking injured wildlife, moving deeper into the wilderness just as the vehicles reached the cabin. Nova created small light distortions that matched the aurora's patterns, helping mask their retreat, while Orion maintained a quantum dampening field around them. From their vantage point in the forest, they watched as figures in dark suits and government uniforms searched the cabin. Some moved with an unnatural precision that betrayed their true nature, Nexus hunters wearing human disguises. "Why do they hate us so much?" Nova asked, their form dimming with distress as they watched their sanctuary being invaded. "They don't hate," Lyra replied, creating a small barrier of warming energy around them as temperatures dropped. "They simply cannot understand connections that aren't based on power. The bond that formed between us and Rowan, the trust and friendship, these are concepts foreign to their worldview." They continued their retreat into the wilderness, using Rowan's knowledge of the landscape to stay ahead of the search parties. The Nexus hunters had brought sophisticated tracking equipment, but they hadn't counted on facing someone who had spent years studying how life moved through these mountains. As night fell, they found shelter in a natural cave system Rowan had discovered years ago while photographing denning bears. The cave's mineral composition helped mask their energy signatures, and Nova discovered they could create tiny light sources that mimicked natural bioluminescent fungi. "Your world is teaching us new ways to adapt," Orion noted while setting up their defensive perimeter. "The Nexus sees only resources to be harvested, but there's so much more to learn from Earth's complexity." Rowan used her satellite phone one last time to send a coded message to her photography network, warning them to be cautious of any official inquiries about atmospheric phenomena. As she worked, she noticed Nova and Orion combining their abilities in a new way, weaving starlight through patterns of ice crystals to create a natural camouflage system. The night grew deeper, and the aurora above twisted with competing energies, the natural lights of Earth's magnetosphere now interwoven with Nexus search patterns and the distant signals of the approaching celestial fleet. Their cave became an island of warmth and trust in a sea of growing darkness. But as Rowan helped Nova create star maps on the cave walls, teaching them about Earth's constellations while learning about distant star systems, she realized something profound. Every choice to help, to trust, to learn from each other, was a small light pushing back against the shadows. The Nexus sought power through dominance, but here in this cave, a different kind of power was growing, one built on understanding and connection. They would need that power in the days ahead, as the hunters drew closer and the final confrontation approached. The fate of two civilizations would depend not on weapons or technology, but on the bonds forged between species who chose to see the best in each other. The choice. 3 days in the cave system had taught them all new meanings of darkness and light. While Nexus search parties combed the mountains above, Rowan and her alien companions had discovered that the cave's crystalline formations responded to celestial energy in unexpected ways, creating natural amplifiers for their quantum communications. Nova had grown stronger in the mineral-rich environment, learning to merge their stellar energy with Earth's geological forces. The young celestial could now create sophisticated illusions by exciting the crystalline structures, making the cave appear empty even when scanned by Nexus technology. "Your world's minerals sing with their own kind of starlight," Nova explained while teaching Rowan how to read the subtle patterns they created. "Different from our cosmic energy, but just as alive." Their relative safety was shattered by an urgent transmission that Orion detected through their improvised communications array. The Nexus hunters had begun establishing orbital platforms around Earth, preparing to initiate stellar harvesting protocols. "They're not waiting for the celestial fleet to arrive," Lyra's form pulsed with alarm as they analyzed the data. "They're accelerating their timeline, willing to risk detection by Earth's authorities." Rowan's satellite phone, used sparingly to avoid detection, brought equally disturbing news. Her contacts reported widespread communications disruptions and unusual solar activity. The Nexus were already beginning to manipulate Earth's sun. How long before the celestial fleet arrives? Rowan asked, watching Nova create a miniature model of their solar system, showing the positions of the Nexus platforms. 3 days at best, Orion replied, their form dimming with concern. But the stellar harvesting process will begin within hours. Once it starts, the damage to your sun's stability will be irreversible. They faced an impossible choice: remain hidden and safe while Earth's star was slowly drained of energy, or risk everything on a desperate plan to stop the harvest before it began. The decision was complicated by a discovery Nova made while exploring deeper into the cave system. These crystals, the young celestial called out excitedly, leading them to a chamber filled with unusual formations. They resonate at the same frequency as our quantum drives. With enough power, we could create a temporary portal to the fleet's location. Lyra examined the crystals, their galaxy eyes reflecting complex calculations. It's possible, but the energy requirement would be enormous. The power surge would reveal our location to every Nexus hunter in the region. And we'd need to be on the surface, Orion added, directly under the aurora for proper quantum alignment. We'd be completely exposed. Rowan studied her topographical maps, marking Nexus patrol patterns they'd observed. There's a high plateau 2 miles north, above the cave system. Clear sight lines to the sky, but minimal cover. If we're going to do this, that's our best shot. The plan they formed was dangerous but built on the strengths each of them had developed. Nova would use their new mastery of Earth's minerals to create crystalline focuses for the portal. Orion would establish defensive fields using their enhanced understanding of the cave system's natural energy flows. Lyra would channel their recovered power into the quantum calculations needed for accurate portal formation. As they prepared, Rowan received one final message from her photography network. The Nexus infiltration of government agencies had been discovered, leading to confusion and conflict among Earth's authorities. They would find no help there. I understand now, Nova said while helping Rowan pack emergency supplies, why the Nexus fear species like yours. You build connections they can't predict or control. Every time we think we're alone, your friends find new ways to help us. The night they chose for their attempt brought the strongest aurora display Rowan had ever witnessed. The lights painted the sky in impossible colors as Nexus energy patterns clashed with Earth's natural magnetic field. They emerged from the cave into bitter cold, each carrying crystals Nova had carefully attuned to celestial frequencies. On the plateau, wind whipped snow into curtains of white as they began assembling their portal array. Rowan's years of setting up camera equipment in extreme conditions proved invaluable as they positioned the crystals in precise geometric patterns. But they weren't alone on the mountain. Dark shapes moved through the blowing snow, converging on their position. The Nexus hunters had found them. As Orion strengthened their defensive barrier and Lyra began the portal calculations, Rowan made her own choice. Keep working, she told her alien family, picking up her camera tripod. I'll buy you time. Years of observing wildlife had taught her how predators thought, how they moved, what made them hesitate. Now she would use that knowledge against a very different kind of hunter. As she moved into the swirling snow, Nova called out to her. The stars sang when we met you, Rowan Winters. Now I understand why. The plateau erupted in chaos as Nexus hunters emerged from their human disguises, revealing forms of twisted darkness and cold fire. Above them, the aurora began to pulse with mounting energy as Lyra and Nova worked to open a portal that would either save 2 worlds or expose them to final defeat. In the storm of snow and starlight, a wildlife photographer prepared to face down creatures from beyond the stars, armed with nothing but knowledge, courage, and the unshakable certainty that some connections were worth any risk. Beyond the horizon. The aurora above the plateau fractured into competing streams of light as Rowan faced down the approaching Nexus hunters. Behind her, the crystalline portal array hummed with building energy, Nova and Lyra's combined powers resonating with the mineral formations beneath the snow. Rowan had spent her life documenting the delicate balance of nature, understanding how each species played its part in the greater whole. Now she used that knowledge in ways she never imagined. Her camera flash, amplified by Nova's crystals, disrupted the Nexus hunters' energy fields. Her understanding of predator psychology helped her anticipate their movements, leading them into positions where Orion's defensive barriers were strongest. "Their forms are unstable in Earth's atmosphere," Orion called out, maintaining the protective field around the portal array. "They require constant energy to maintain their disguises." This observation gave Rowan an idea. She began targeting the snow around the hunters with her modified camera equipment, the flash exciting the crystalline structure of the snowflakes in ways that interfered with the Nexus energy patterns. Each burst of light forced them to expend more power maintaining their forms. Above them, the aurora suddenly shifted, its colors deepening to impossible shades as the Nexus orbital platforms began their alignment. The stellar harvesting process was beginning. Streams of energy visibly flowed from Earth's sun, creating distortions in the night sky. "The portal matrix is at 70%, Lyra projected, their form blazing with concentrated power. "But the solar interference is growing stronger." Nova, their young form now shimmering with both stellar and mineral energy, made a discovery that changed everything. "The crystals in the mountain," they called out, "they're responding to the solar energy. The whole plateau is becoming a natural amplifier." The revelation came just in time. More Nexus hunters emerged from the storm, their forms more desperate and aggressive as Earth's magnetic field reacted to their tampering with the sun. But Nova had learned to sing to the crystals beneath the snow, awakening frequencies that had lain dormant for millions of years. The mountain itself began to fight back. Crystalline spires erupted from the ground, capturing and redirecting the aurora's energy in ways that the Nexus couldn't predict or control. The hunters found their careful calculations disrupted by forces as old as Earth itself, working in harmony with the young Celestial's power. "The portal!" Orion shouted as the array reached critical energy levels. The space above them twisted, reality folding in on itself as they established a quantum connection to the approaching celestial fleet. But the Nexus platforms had detected the power surge. Dark energy lanced down from orbit, targeting the portal array. Rowan didn't hesitate. She sprinted toward the nearest crystalline spire, remembering how Nova had taught her to read the mineral songs. Placing her hand against the crystal's surface, she felt the ancient frequencies resonating with both Earth's core and the distant stars. In that moment, she understood that the boundary between terrestrial and celestial was an illusion. It was all one song. Her touch completed a circuit. The plateau's crystal network, Nova's stellar energy, and Earth's own magnetic field synchronized. The portal flared with blinding light just as the Nexus weapon struck. But instead of destruction, there was transformation. The crystalline spires caught the dark energy and reformed it, sending it back into the sky as pure light. The portal stabilized, and through it came the celestial fleet, their ships like constellations given form. But they weren't alone. All across the planet, the crystalline structures in Earth's crust had awakened. The Nexus platforms found their careful stellar harvesting calculations disrupted by a planet-wide network of natural quantum amplifiers, all resonating with frequencies taught by a young celestial who had learned to listen to a new world's songs. The Nexus hunters, their forms destabilizing in the flood of transformed energy, retreated to their ships. Above, their orbital platforms began to fail as Earth's awakened crystal network protected its sun with frequencies that bridged the cosmic and terrestrial. In the aftermath, as celestial ships filled the sky and the aurora returned to its natural rhythms, Rowan stood with her alien family on the crystal-studded plateau. Nova excitedly showed the arriving celestial scientists how Earth's minerals could sing with stellar energy. Orion worked with them to establish permanent quantum communication arrays using the natural crystal formations. Lyra, their form now fully healed, began planning for a new era of cooperation between worlds. "We thought we came to warn humanity about the Nexus," Lyra mused, watching Earth's authorities make first official contact with the celestial fleet. "Instead, your world taught us new ways to grow, to adapt, to protect life." Rowan smiled, her camera capturing the historic moment as humans and Celestials worked together to establish Earth's first crystal-based quantum embassy. Nova had created a small display showing how the planet's crystalline network now connected to the stars, a permanent bridge between terrestrial and celestial life. "Perhaps that's the greatest discovery," Rowan replied, watching Nova teach a group of human scientists how to read the mineral songs. "That no matter where we come from, we all have something to learn from each other." The sun rose over the transformed plateau, its light catching the crystalline spires and sending rainbow patterns dancing across the snow. In those refracted beams, one could see both Earth's ancient strength and the promise of a future where the boundaries between worlds were not barriers, but bridges waiting to be crossed by those willing to reach out, to trust, and to learn the songs that connected all living things across the vast expanse of space.